Hey guys, another moment of truth here in this game. So far in this game, White ended up with a lot of strength here after sacrificing this one stone to reduce Black's territory. And now conversely, it's these three Black stones that are being attacked. And White just jumped out here at K11 to attack these stones. So Black had to figure out the best way of trying to save these three stones. So in the game, Black attached like this, White cut. We ended up with this sequence, and Black tried to escape this way, but after this extension, we could see that the stones were just going to get captured, and so this was the end of the game. So what should Black have done instead? So at this point, instead of this attachment, which I think is a bit of an overplay, it would have been all right if Black had just simply jumped out like this. I mean, maybe the Kosumi is possible, but that might also be a bit too much. I think just this jump would be the best. So if White tries to keep Black surrounded, Black can jump again, and if White plays this way, Black can start aiming at some of these weaknesses, like the cut here, and the cut here, as well as the push through here. We can see that these White stones aren't too strong either. So if Black tries this clamp now, he has a good way of fighting back against White. If White simply blocks here, Black can Atari and jump out. And I think Black has a good chance then of winning this fight, or at least capturing some White stones. If instead White tries to push out this way, then Black can still block here. White connects, and it'll end up being the same thing. These two variations will be the same. But after Black just extended here, I think his fate was sealed. So let's go back and see how this happened. We had a pretty standard beginning with these double Hane variations that have become very popular recently. Black invaded right away here. So I think White chose to block on a good direction. This kept Black very low, which actually makes me think that maybe Black should have come from here instead, because this side is so low that it becomes an easy decision for White to block this way and keep Black so low on this side. So as Black, I would feel a little unsatisfied in this position. So this is all fine. After this push, the sort of standard follow-up, White doesn't have to play it now, but would be to cut here. So Black isn't going to play this way, because then White would take the entire corner, even though Black would like to take the stone. So instead, Black will just simply connect. So White isn't going to try and pull the stones out this way, because these stones would probably just end up dying, like this. But instead, White can use the Aji to play this nose to Tsuji. So if Black comes down like this, then White gets a nice Sente move on the outside. And Black will respond, because otherwise there will be this very strong Sente move here. And Black's other choice is to fight by coming up, in which case White can come underneath. So White doesn't have to play this move immediately, but it might be good to at least play the first exchange and leave the rest for later. And we had something similar in the upper right. Oh yeah, actually right now. Let me see. Oh yeah. So this is all fine. So Black chose to cut here, which I think is possible, but White connected here. And so the difference between this down here is that Black hasn't made this exchange. If Black has made this exchange, then White has no choice but to connect. But since Black has not made the exchange, we just cut directly, we want to just capture the stone, because this shape is more efficient than if we had this already. So if this were to happen, we would actually end up with a very similar variation to the 3-3 and the double Hane, right? So if we look here, right, this would end up being the same thing as this. So it would be totally even for both sides. And note that if Black did try to play here now, White wouldn't connect, but would just capture. And so that's the difference. So that's what White should have done, but White just chose to connect, so Black got a good result here by pulling out this stone. And so there's a bit of a life and death situation on the upper right here, because what if black simply descends? But instead, black pushed here, which is fine locally, white extended. And before this, I think black wants to push one more time and then sort of play this asking move, this Atari here. So if white responds with this sort of heavy move, then black can simply just descend here. White will block, and then black could probably jump out there, or something like this. But instead, white will probably not connect here, but might Hana here instead to save these stones. In which case, black at some point has the option of capturing, but might just play loosely like that, or even push here like this. Oh yeah, and just to note that if, where is it? Right here, black can kill just with this simple Hane and the placement, or the placement here, either way. But after this Hane and connect, white is just simply alive. So I like this push, but again, I really would just play this Atari here first to see how white responds. And the problem is that if black plays this Atari later, it might not be so important. It might be easy for white to ignore it. Basically, once black already has this extension, then the Atari isn't so important anymore. So instead, white just jumps out. Black plays there. So black attached underneath, which ended up with a good result, but I think instead, well, you could try that first, or just this sort of weird looking Kosumi here. And so if white pushes, black can just Hane underneath. Cutting like this isn't going to be good because black will stay connected and will capture the stone. So it's probably more likely that white will try to clamp here. And so basically, black will be happy just pushing up because even though this marked stone is going to get hurt a lot, these triangled white stones are also going to get hurt. So black will be okay as long as he can swallow these stones. So this cut is good, but I don't think white should pull back here because as we saw in the game, black just ended up connecting everything. So instead, I think white could Atari and connect to look after these stones. So black will probably have to connect on top, and white can just Atari and live down here. These stones in the middle are going to be attacked, but I think this is better than just letting the stones get captured like this, even though white did get a nice Atari on the outside. So black did play this move, and notice how at this point white just tanuki'd, right? Because the stone isn't so important anymore. Whereas if black had played that move earlier, black might have gotten it for free. But so another key point about this game is this area right here. So as I think we're all familiar with, it's like so rare to see black and white stones sort of like butt right up against each other with no one playing a follow-up. We almost always see someone play a follow-up. And so someone really should here as well, because it's going to make a big difference whether does white get this move first, or for example, even here, which will strengthen this group, help it get out and start to reduce black like this. Or, let's see if white plays somewhere else, is black going to get a move like this Hane first, which will seal in this territory, right? And so we can see that there's a big difference between that and this in terms of strength, weakness, and in terms of how much territory black has here. So I think both players kind of underestimated how big a follow-up in this area was. So we have a nice forcing move here. So I think taking this corner stone is actually really not that big. So after black, in the Joseki in which black makes this exchange, taking the cornerstone isn't so big anymore because both groups are a lot more safe. So it's just not that urgent for white. So instead I would consider, of course, a move like that. Or if you just want territory, something like that kick, since these stones are all so low, or even following up in the lower right, kind of like what I was saying before. So I think black played well and took this sente move, although I would still follow up top. And this move might even be like a little too conservative. I think black could probably play farther away a little bit. Yeah, so black got into a bit of trouble here with this. I mean, this double hane is almost like a trick move, I feel like. And so black should just connect. Like, it might feel a little too passive, but of course white is going to have to come back to have this exchange mean anything. And it's not necessarily so good for white because now this move here is gone, right? There's no more meaning of this nose attachment. Black can just come out. So white, in a way, has sort of fixed black's problem here. Yeah, so black should be happy just to connect. But white ended up with this good result. But black still got some territory here at the bottom. So I think black can still feel pretty satisfied because black still has a solid amount of territory here. And especially if black gets a chance to play a move like here up top, which will attack these stones and expand, I think black is still in pretty good shape. And so this was another one of black's chances. So I think black kind of played the wrong direction. So black jumped out here to separate these two groups. But I think it's more important to play this way and try to expand black's territory here. Yeah, I think this Atari and connect is good. So I think black is still doing well here, but there ended up being some problems with the attach and cut up at the top. Yeah, right here. So in the game, I think black just Atari'd and took this stone, which meant that later white was going to get this move here and just like totally wreck black's territory. So I wondered if instead of cutting this way, what if black just goes for all the stones? I can't really find any way for white to punish this. So white connects, black connects, and I guess white can get some forcing moves on the outside like this, but that's about it. Or actually, I guess black should maybe even just capture here. And stuff like this isn't going to be too important because these stones are so weak, right? Black can almost just kill this group. So white's not going to have a chance to play there because black will take the stones. And if white fixes, then there's a big cut here. Or now black could be happy just to jump out and attack these white stones while saving his own stones. So I think black should have just gone for all the stones here. Okay, and so now we're back to this point that I was talking about at the beginning of the review. So although this attachment is a good idea, I just think black should play this simple jump. You know, because when our stones are under attack, we want to look at our opponent's weaknesses. And there's definitely a big weakness right around here, since these stones are not alive yet. And so if we get these extra moves, really the key move, remember, is we don't want to cut here, but just play this clamp. And this will be a good fight for black, since both sides are surrounded, but white has more cutting points here. And if white resists this way, black is still going to be okay. So I think black really could have still recovered from the mistake up here at this point. But white, handled this situation very well. I like this clamp here. That's good. This was a sort of creative way of getting some force, and this jump out is good as well. But after this, black needed to keep going with this squeeze. So once black extends, then white extends, and after this attachment, the whole group just gets captured. So what if instead of extending, we just hane here, right? So obviously white can't cut because black will just take the stones. And the same thing here, if white goes that way, then black will get a lot of forcing moves over here. And cutting isn't going to be so good because of these weaknesses that we talked about before. Actually, even this wouldn't work because of this throw in here, and so black could probably end up taking these stones. So I don't think white could push through here. White would probably just have to play out this way, and then black could fix here. And so if white chose to look after these stones, then obviously black would keep forcing, would come out, and if white turns here, then black can attack these stones. And if black just keeps going, then we'll get the same sort of sequence we were looking at earlier, where black will end up separating these white stones. So in conclusion here, I think there were like a couple big points. So one was this one in the upper right, where white really should have taken this stone on the outside. Sorry, like not with that, like this, and just had it be like the 3-3 double Hane Joseki. So black got a good result after that. This was a nice forcing exchange that black should have gotten sooner to force white's hand. And black wanted to play not this Hane, but this descent here. And white should have, instead of extending this way, should have just Atari'd and gotten some life here at the bottom. And then this wasn't so big in the upper left because of this exchange, this d14 for c13 exchange. But maybe the biggest thing here is just when we have these triangled stones, or sorry, let me just mark these two, right up against each other, it's almost always going to be very urgent to continue on. Right, so notice how, for example, with these triangled situations, black responded here and white responded here because we never want to see stones basically like neck to neck like that. Especially because these white stones were so weak, and black could have gotten a nice attack, and white could have gotten to escape and play some reduction moves at the same time. So I think those are the main takeaways here. So I hope this was a helpful lesson, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.